The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings, the kickoff to golf season in 2023. We're back every single Monday for the next 478 Mondays, it feels like, once we get to the dog days of golf season. However, I am fired up. We haven't been talking about golf in a very long time, so it's time for the 2023 season preview. Going to talk about all of the majors, all the odds presented by DraftKingsSportsbook.com, obviously. And we're into a Ryder Cup year. We have some talk about last year. LIV, that's still a thing that's happening in 2023. How is that going to impact everything? We're about to find out. Reminder to smash the like and sub to the channel and sub to the audio podcast for even more golf content coming your way. But the big thing is, right now, play in the Fantasy Golf World Championships race for the Mayo Cup one-and-done contest. It is, we're recording this before Christmas, and it's already 20% full. It starts at the Sony Open. You can have up to 5 entries. It's $125 for the year. So when you factor that out, it's like $3 or $4 a week. So you can get your $20 a week up there and have all 5 entries into it right now. You can go down to the description and hit the link. It's fantasygolfchampionships.com. So please, let's go fill it up. If we can get enough people in this early, that means we can make it even bigger for next year. There's $500,000 of guaranteed money in the prize pool, $50,000 for first prize, $35,000 for second prize. Very flat payout. So it's not like it's going to be $50,000 for first, $500 for second. We didn't want that. Only 10% of the prize pool is going to first place. But hey, it's a pretty good chunk of change. You make one pick per week. It only takes like 20 seconds to do if that's how much time that you really want to put into it. So hit the description once again, fantasygolfchampionships.com. The Sony or the Tournament of Champions Listeners League for DraftKings is down there as well if you want to go get your early entry into that. Geoff Fienberg, we are back. Season number 9 of our golf show. We're almost at a full decade of doing this, and my picks have gotten progressively worse over the past decade.
Don't be so hard. Don't be so hard on yourself. Wow, season 9, a lot has changed, both in golf, both in the golf content space. Both in wow, long time. I don't know if we were doing major previews even back then either.
No, I think we just jumped into the deep end with the Sony Open one year and we were off to the races.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I can't wait to see golf on TV from Hawaii while we are in our frigid temperatures here. I enjoy golf off season. Maybe I wish it was a couple weeks longer.
No,
it's nice to.
No, it's too long. And listen, I wouldn't mind it if I wasn't doing content for it, but just
define long.
Well,
where do you think it ends? Are you saying like FedEx Cup, or are you counting up to the swing season?
I'm counting like the RSM.
And you think golf off season is too long?
No, I thought you said, okay, the way that I interpreted that was you don't think that the golf season is long enough during the swing season.
Oh, no. I wish there was another couple weeks, but even your intro here got me as excited as I've been in a little while for golf. Not going to lie, LIV was exhausting in some respects last year. Maybe that's because I decided to fight with bots. That's my own problem. We improve on that in 23. I certainly will make that a New Year's resolution. But yeah, fired up, excited. I think there'll be more LIV PGA War, and I just got to turn it into mental entertainment at this point.
So I'm glad that the Masters had released their statement about 2023. I think it went exactly how we all thought it was going to go, that anyone who is previously qualified, regardless of what tour you play on, is going to end up getting their invitation to Augusta National. And that's great for some people who are going to automatically be in anyway. But I think it saved Answer and Neiman and Kokrak are the 3 guys that didn't previously win a major, but they're still getting into the tournament this time.
I agree with that decision. I'm not surprised by that decision. It makes perfect sense. We all many people had presumed that the Masters might want to be at the forefront of the decision. I think no, we're in the perfect position to just kick this thing down the road again. And why wouldn't they want those players there? And as you mentioned, I vehemently believe that anyone who has earned an exemption should have it honored. Like, that's it. That's like, so they have agreed with that assessment, like most sane golf fans, and we can move on. And that decision, I guess, will be made another day.
I remember when we first started talking about it at the time, I think it would be insane for any of the majors to not allow the LIV guys to play. In fact, they should come up with some sort of LIV qualification system to ensure that there are LIV players in these tournaments, because it's a weird opportunity that, I mean, the majors are all set on a pedestal anyway, but this really gives them an opportunity to elevate their tournaments from even the Players Championship and everything else by such a wide margin. Like, if most casual golf fans only tune into probably 2.5 golf tournaments a year, it's usually the Masters for sure, the U.S. Open, and like probably not the PGA Championship, and some of the Open Championship if they're up at the right time. That having these LIV guys in there really ensures your place, that you have the best fields in the world. Like, the PGA is not letting these great players play, but we are. You're going to see the highest level of competition at these events. And then you just have all this built-in drama of the head-to-head that goes along with it. Like, we're never going to see a Ryder, maybe we will, but as of right now, with no coordination between any of the tours, we're not going to see a Ryder Cup style tournament where it's PGA versus LIV guys. This becomes the de facto version of that, which is what, I mean, a lot of us kind of want to see, don't we?
PGA versus LIV guys. Like, the only two that really seem to care, like, that want to get up in people's grill, is like Billy Horschel versus Sergio and Westwood. That's the only match we need. All the guys that make a ton of money on both sides of it don't really seem to have any bad blood. Even Answer, geez, I want to give the guys Draws and Fades. I hope I got it right. They had Abe Answer on, which is a great little get if I shouted out the wrong podcast for their guest. But even Answer said at the British BMW, the only guy who's a jerk is Billy Horschel. And the only guy who's actually being a jerk in person is Billy Horschel. And I have a vindictive soul too, but I don't know what they really did wrong to Billy. But to your point, I think that LIV or the majors need to find a way to quantify LIV. While the exemptions exist, let them be honored. But how do we quantify how good some of these players' LIV performances are? So if there's a LIV order of merit where the top 6 can get into majors, and maybe top 6 turns to top 12 or something, that's fine. I think that makes total sense. I'm not looking for majors that don't have those guys. I am worried about a Joakim Niemann, as an example, who doesn't sort of have the exemptions that a Cam Smith or other young players would, that he can just get like totally lost in all of this. So, and he's a player I love how his game would work for US Opens, PGA Championships, that long and straight. Like, he's been on my cards last few. I'd want him on more of them. So I'm happy he can still be included, or I need them to find a way for him.
And especially if they start poaching some of the younger players. I think it's the Spanish player. He won. I think it was in was it in Dubai? Maybe it was in Saudi Arabia, but I can't even remember his name now. And that's kind of the problem too, is that like you hear this like LIV stuff happen, it happens in the moment, and then because it doesn't actually mean anything at all to viewers or people paying attention, it's like, oh yeah, that guy won. What was his name again? It's like, who cares?
Chinkara?
Yeah, maybe. But, like, it would be fun to see.
I think his initials are EC, but you're right. His name has escaped me, which is crazy. He's way too high on like world top young golfer rankings for me to not know your name, but I don't know. Sometimes when you go to LIV, it's not cheers anymore. I know the Corn Ferry guys.
Yeah, I mean, that becomes a problem when you're trying to develop new stars. Now, it's only going to be year 2 of LIV, and this is a PGA Tour recap and preview, so I don't want to get too bogged down by LIV. That's one of the things that I want to do this year, is not get too bogged down by LIV. But like looking at their current schedule, how it sets up for the Masters, like some of these guys might only have like 6 competitive rounds going into Augusta this year. Like Cameron Smith might have 2 tournaments and shotgun 54 holes. That's it.
Tiger Woods might play more competitive golf than LIV golfers before the Masters, and that's not a good thing, maybe. So you're absolutely right. And as LIV continues to go, I think they'll find a way that works best for their top players and to prepare for the majors, Pat, but I don't know, year to date, LIV is a success. Look at the roster and just look at the roster. And they have a 14 event schedule coming up. They played 8 events last year. As I've said many times, the Masters Riviera, it was supposed to be dead before it started. So year to date it is a success, but it does in some way feel like they are kind of getting stuck in some quicksand right now. Like sponsors still want nothing to do with them outside of golf sponsors. Because we've noticed players lost sponsorships, but golf brands, equipments, apparel, none of those have left players. Although you didn't see DJ in that TaylorMade Christmas commercial either. That's probably not a coincidence at the same time. But some of their top executives have left, not Greg Norman, like the people who actually have experience in sports business. And they got their TV deal on the CW. I don't like. Is that actually? I mean, it's better than last year.
Hold on. Is that actually true? Because I heard that was a fake story.
It was in like the Sports Business Journal. So unless I've been told, it might have been fake. If it was fake, they really got some very respected media blue check marks.
Yeah, I remember. I remember. Hold on. I remember Daniel Rappaport tweeted it out, and then he's like, "I really should have read this more closely." Like 20 seconds later, after they were like, "No, that's not actually what's happening." Like for sure.
No, but I'm not even talking about Rappaport. Rappaport being in the golf world still, and his thing isn't media and contracts.
So like John Orand put it out.
Yeah, like those guys were talking about it, and Adam Seaborn in Canada and Rick Young, who are they don't participate in some of that other stuff at all. Like they're very serious. At least Seaborn is here in Canada. So yeah, I don't know if that was a dupe. Then I apologize for bringing it here. Then, but it would be funny. And I don't know, we live in Gulf Siberia right now, Pat. We don't even know where we're going to be able to watch Thursday, Friday live coverage.
Well, this is a problem for anyone internationally right now. And listen, Americans, I get it. You can watch it on ESPN Plus. Your little American-centric must be the same in the rest of the world thinking. That doesn't actually apply because we had to get our PGA Tour Live and everything. That is the same product that you watch, but we don't have ESPN Plus in order to go get that and to stream everything during the day. So we were getting it through Golf.tv internationally. And I believe it was the same almost everywhere worldwide, that the international rights belong to Golf.tv. And now that they've given that up, there is no one who has jumped on board yet as the place where we can go internationally to watch a lot of the stuff. I would guess DAZN is the one who ends up picking it up.
DAZN right now has LIV.
Yeah, but YouTube has LIV.
No, you're right. I'm sure if PGA said they would dump LIV to be able to get that PGA Thursday, Friday coverage back. You're absolutely right. I'm just saying is the season, Hawaii's a couple weeks away, and then we're off and running, and we have no idea how we're watching golf on Thursday, Friday, early days right now. People like you and I and the rest of the international landscape. Before we do leave LIV, I fully expect that they're going to sign 7, 8, 10 new guys this year. Like they're not stopping. They didn't just spend what they spent last year to not do it again this year.
Who do you think goes? Do you think the Cantlay-Xander stuff is real? Like, I'm good. Give him Patrick Cantlay. I'm fine with never watching Patrick Cantlay line up 20 minutes over a shot again.
As we've joked, there are filing cabinets with more personality than Patrick Cantlay.
He should really turn, he seems kind of like a jerk. I wish he would lean into that a little bit more. He could be, now that Patrick Reed is gone, we need a villain on the PGA Tour. And I think, arrogant Morgan Stanley Patrick Cantlay, who's just kind of a jerk to everyone, would be great. Then I would get on board with Patrick Cantlay. I'm intentionally taking all this time just to piss you off, pal.
Yeah, it's true. And make good on the hot mics like he did on that tee in Hawaii a couple years ago, calling those guys jerks out in front of him. He wanted his Mai Tai. But yeah, no, he could literally, he's tried to play the face role. He could, just go full heel on us. We need that in the landscape. You are not wrong about that one bit, Pat. Xander has always said, and I kind of want to believe him. He said, like, every time his only answer is, I will play where the best golf tournaments in the world are. So he's like, if LIV has the best golf tournaments in 5 years, I will probably be on LIV. Right now, those still remain on the PGA Tour. But yeah, they seem like the two most likely high-end players, because it does seem like that the big group at the top really does seem locked in, and they're able to capitalize on so many other PGA ventures, like this virtual thing now, that they're getting more money than they ever got, and they're happy also, clearly.
I'm actually surprised that no one has jumped on the LIV TV deal yet, with just how, because it would be so cheap. Like, they're trying to actively pay. They were paying FS1 to put it on their airwaves, and they were trying to sell ads to recoup some of that money. Like, if that is free programming for one of these large networks, and the only thing that anyone wants, and they're producing it all, like, it's no cost to the network to run live sports for 4.5 hours. I mean, someone's got
ads, man.
So I get that. I get that it's ads, but someone's got to jump on this. Like, if they're what's the difference between the ads? If they're gonna pay you, or because you have LIV on FS1, does that mean other companies aren't going to advertise on FS1? Find that hard to believe.
You are 100% right, and I don't know all the inner workings, and I totally agree with you. In this world now, where everything's a content play. It's just all a content play. You're telling me that you don't want to put Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, Cam Smith on your TV for free? Because I always go back to it, like, and it's an easy mark in my head. My dad is the prototype that golf TV is for. He doesn't have a lineup. He's not using the app. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't have a bet. He can afford the cars and the dick pills and the heart pills and whatever else they're trying to sell him, and the watches that they're trying to sell him during a commercial. But I don't know. He would stop. My point being is, he would stop and watch if he was flicking his channels and Dustin Johnson was lining up a shot. If Phil Mickelson was lining up a chip. If Bryson DeChambeau was lining up a drive or teeing up. Like, we would watch. I would sit there and watch that. So I totally agree how no one is bit on what seems to be incredible value-based content, and the fact that they are pretty much trying to give it away for free. But I don't know. Maybe they don't want to run 70 MyPillow commercials during it. Like, I don't know what the ripple effects of that is. At this point.
That's a really good point. Of, like, if now it's up to LIV and the LIV marketing team to sell the advertising, what in God's name are you going to end up with on your airwaves? And then it reflects very poorly on you. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are sponsors out there saying, hey, if you put this on your airwaves, that we're not going to do it. I do think that would be far-fetched, because ultimately it comes down to money. And if they're going to give them better rates or whatever it might be across all Fox platforms, like, yeah, you got to deal with some LIV on FS1, but as a part of your bulk buy on Fox News and Fox Sports and regular Fox, well, then you're just going to have to suck it up a little bit.
Look at the stuff people stop and watch on Golf Channel just because someone is hitting a golf ball. And then think of the players who are on LIV. Even if you don't like the format, and you don't like the teams, and you don't like they're in shorts. Like,
I like the shorts. I do agree. I agree. The shorts visually looks really, really weird. However, I couldn't imagine just playing in pants all the time, especially in like Rahad or wherever the hell that they go play. That's like sweltering hot all the time.
So yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we watch these old. Yeah, we totally agree. LIV also some really like funny behind the scenes like web content, like following around Patrick Reed's family, which I'm forever indebted to them too, because I'm obsessed with how that whole crew operates and the ambiance for which they make every move.
We didn't want to talk too much about LIV on a PGA Tour recap, and here we are, 20 minutes in, only talking about LIV. So let's get.
I thought it was a major preview, not recap. I don't know.
We're doing both. We're back. We're excited to talk about golf. We are going to break down each of the majors. So, well, I mean, what the odds are currently. Last thing on this, And maybe this goes the same thing with the TV networks, but I'm shocked that there's no international sportsbook that would get involved with them, because that's one way to kind of supercharge, as we've seen with every other TV network on, at least in North America. If you've been watching, every second ad is a sports gambling ad. Shout out DraftKings for spending all that money. You know, you can pay Pat. That's fine. You can pay Jeff too. And hey, get us some nice bonuses in there. But maybe it's not DraftKings or FanDuel or wherever. Barstool might actually be a pretty good fit. But like BetMGM's not getting on board with these guys. But if you could have an official betting partner of LIV and maybe sell it to their app in a weird way, like if you're going to be able to buy time on FS1 or CW or whatever it might be within North America, you can also just hypothetically say DraftKings. They're not saying DraftKings is doing this, but they're like, oh, also you can live bet LIV on the DraftKings Sportsbook app while you watch it on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. That seems like a big crossover win for DraftKings, at least, or whoever wants to take that deal.
Everyone else is doing it. You'd think they would if it was being offered to them. I don't feel like they're rejecting people.
I just don't think that the sports books have stepped up to do that. But it would seem like internationally on Bet365, I can bet like tier 2 Argentinian soccer games because I can actually watch that on the app. I really do think that, we talk about content being so valuable to a lot of these places. Now, maybe it's because no one cares about LIV and that's why there's no demand for it, but no one cares about these other sports either. But if you can throw them on an app and allow people to bet while they watch, I think you would just inherently get more customers that way. Like, is that better or
100%.
worse? Is that better or worse than paying Kevin Hart $10 million to be in a commercial?
I totally agree. And not to drag the conversation on, but the smartest thing LIV does, Pat, is like that schedule. I know there's more events this year, but they strategically go head to head with the worst events on the PGA Tour, where it's like you would stop to watch those players play when Mark Hubbard is leading some other tournament against some other player you don't have any stake in. It's all sorry.
No, I'm completely on board. Let's switch to PGA. Is the PGA broken for you? Because I'm as excited as I have always been to watch the PGA, to bet on the PGA. And once we get into week 3, we're at the American Express, we're in La Quinta. I really, no one's at that tournament anyway. Like, Rahm will probably go play like he always does. We've seen Scheffler and Finau there over the years. But I do feel like we're going to have a situation with some of these lower rent tournaments that they're just like Corn Ferry events. And we saw that towards the end of last year, where if it's not a premier event, no one wants to fucking play.
Yeah, that is an issue. And the reason they resisted so long putting premier status on events, Pat, in the regular schedule was they did not want to offend sponsors, and they did not want to make any event. If my event is worth less FedEx Cup points, that means that it's less likely any good player would come, or, so there's so many layers to why they resisted this Diamond Series or whatever they actually do call it. Is the PGA broken? Even when LIV didn't exist and we had the 3Ms or whatever those shitty events were, people made fun of those events and bashed those fields. And the same people that made fun of them then will make fun of them now. And the same people that watched them then will watch them now. So I think so much of that is so overblown, like so much of it, in my opinion. If you made fun of the event 4 years ago, you're going to make fun of it this year. If you didn't want to watch it 4 years ago, you're not going to want to watch it this year. Like, nothing really changes in that respect for me or the golf viewer, but it's pretty startling to see. I always said in that LIV battle that look at all these companies that get these shitty fields. None of them are running away. John Deere still seems to be there. They're happy with their plot in life. Well, guess what? Honda, one of the longest standing staple event sponsors on tour, like older than any of us, as all these events change names every 3 years, gone. They felt clearly disrespected by that schedule situation, and they said, we're gone. We're not hosting your Corn Ferry events anymore. your point.
And it's too bad because PGA Nationals, obviously, we went there. We've won a lot of money at that tournament over the years, and it's one of our favorite events. Like, that's a great kickoff to the Florida Swing. Do you think that they will continue to run a tournament there, or do you think that they'll have to try to they should be elevating that course? Like, that's one of the most fun courses of the year to go to because it's so random, it's so hard, but losing its title sponsor is just a tough look.
Tough luck. And I don't know because the offices that were there, I think left and went to Austin. So if the event that's there also leaves, that would be really sad. And you said it, we love that event. And what I love about it the most, Pat, is, and year after year, it proves itself to be true. It's like it's the beginning of the international, I don't know how to put it, but for us, like guys that are so deep in the weeds in golf, like there's just so much international flair. The field almost feels like it's 60% international. It's where all those guys sort of come and start their quest to the Masters and their seasons. I like it, and I like what it represents, but it doesn't have enough big names. And now, Ricky Fowler's not a star. Brooks Koepka's gone. So sort of guys that were, could give it some cachet in some respects don't participate in it anymore.
It's too bad because I really enjoyed that one. And you are right. It's the kickoff to the Masters, essentially. And it's a hard tournament. Like, that course is hard. And there are so few difficult courses that we see in the run of the season that one being somewhat in jeopardy. Like, it's not going anywhere in the short term. But if we were to lose that and they placed it with TPC Bunny Ranch again, or whatever the hell that was called, it was like, okay, great.
The Europeans would win a Ryder Cup there.
Yes.
And they played one there. I think Raymond Floyd was the captain, if I'm correct. They've had a Ryder Cup there. They've had a PGA Championship there. But under the new constraints or under the new form of USA Golf, they would never play a Ryder Cup. It would be like the worst place on earth for USA Golf to USGA to go play a Ryder Cup today.
Are you surprised that the PGA didn't bake in any bye weeks to any of this? Like, do we need to have the Zurich Classic anymore? I know you have to appease the sponsors, and if Zurich is going to stay on board with you, then you have to run out this contract. But picking a few spots where there is no golf for a week, I don't think is the worst thing in the world.
We always say this. It would be really healthy if maybe the week before or after the Masters they took off. Maybe the week. No, I shouldn't say that. But
well, that one's 2 weeks after the Masters. I think that's a nice one because we have this little run where you play at Augusta. Sea Island is super close. The Heritage is a very old tournament. It's a different style of tournament. It's one with one of your major sponsors in terms of RBC. It's my favorite tournament of the year, so I definitely want to see it the week after the Masters. But it feels like more people are playing in it now than they used to. It's not like, oh, I played at Augusta, I can't play the next week. There are people going to play. And then I believe the next week, it's the Zurich team event, or there's something in between there. Like, just get rid of that one. Like, push that one back.
Yeah, I mean, you could still hope you could find a way to. You don't want to bail on a company or a corporate sponsor that wants to be involved with you. And from a betting perspective, I don't mind that at all because, like match play, like anything that changes up the sort of pace or the feel, like I'm always in favor of, because as Adam Scott famously said, like 8 to 10 of these events mean something. You could do whatever you wanted with about 40 of them, 30 of them. You could do whatever you wanted with them. So I would have no issue with them changing it up. And yes, to piggyback on your point, this new modern player, the past player kind of always took the Tiger approach. Like, Tiger didn't play before majors, I'm not playing before majors. This new younger player, Pat, we've seen an influx of players that take almost the Mickelson approach. And that, no, like, the key is to be in form. But when I get in form, I stay hot for a while. So I want to play before majors and I want to play after majors now if I'm playing well. Like, you don't win and not win it. We see guys carry, just, go absolutely scorching and keep playing and play any chance that they get. And they don't want to peak. They've almost realized that how do you put this? You can't just peak at the majors, but if you get hot before the majors, your form is very likely to continue into it. Yeah, so I get it. And we're at the Masters. I don't have a bet yet.
I don't have a bet yet either. Well, I did want to wait to see who was actually playing because, as I learned the hard way about 7 years ago, when we were first really just was 7 or 8 years ago. Anyway, I bet Gary Woodland to win the Open Championship, and then he didn't qualify. I was like, oh, good, I'll get my money refunded. It's like, oh, no, that's a futures bet, sir. That's not a week of bet. You do not get refunded on that. We shall be taking your money. I was like, oh, that was a bad idea. I should have waited till the guy.
There's so much competition now in the marketplace.
They would give it back.
They want your goodwill that
I'm kind of
like
Cam, though. I never want to be one of those people that looks like a little bitch online being like, oh, I lost my bet. I have my money back. Like, I get why people do it. I get why people do it, but, like, it's a real bad look. Like, oh, my running back got hurt. Can I have my prop bet back because I bet over? You bet fucking over. Like, he didn't go over. He got hurt. It's part of the game.
Yeah. I think we're of an age where we wouldn't even think to even, like, our brain doesn't even go there. Like, we're from a time where we would get, like, the chat or the customer service would tell us to straight, like fuck off. Like, what are you even talking about? Go away.
Yeah.
So our brain can't even commute this new nice guy give back world that these kids get to play in.
I
can't believe I'm so happy. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I get why sportsbooks do it. And listen, if they want to mass do it, but like individual people complaining that their bet lost and they should get their money back is just mind blowing to me. I hope people get their money back. I don't want people to lose money, obviously. It's just like, ugh. Couldn't see myself doing that.
Yeah, no, but I had no issue. A sportsbook was down the other day. I didn't know how long it was down. I wanted to just check up on a future I made. And then the next thing I know, they send me an email saying, here's some free money. Like, I wasn't even actively using the book. So, whatever I guess they want to do, they want to suck up. That's good. And now we're in a world where golf boosts exist. Those can be good, bad, dangerous, a sucker's bet. But I think a lot of boosts won last year, contrary to perception, Pat. I could name you at least 4 or 5 of them right now.
Listen, if 4 or 5 golf boosts won for an outright winner, you were up money by betting all of them all year long. Like if they started to come around, probably at the Waste Management through the end of the FedEx Cup, and it's just like, well, if they're going to give you an extra 5 to 10 points on a golfer and 4 to 5 of those guys win, that's like hitting an extra 50 to 1 winner during the course of the year.
Yeah, and I guess they played some narratives. Like, I remember one of the first ones that hit was Scotty at, I think it was match play, because people are like, he's been winning too much or something. Like, we're just done with that. Finau, after his first win, they boosted the next week because we're all like, Finau can't win twice in a row. JT boosted at the PGA Championship, was a winner. And those are just 3 just quickly off the top of my head there.
So we were getting into a part, so in reaction to the LIV series and how much money they're guaranteeing, the PGA Tour is dumping more money into what they're calling elevated events this year. So it does seem like 20 to 23 times a year, I think you're going to get all of the best PGA players playing against each other. That'd be the 4 majors, that'd be the Players Championship. What are the 4 other ones that really got boosted? The match play everyone's going to be at, and then you're going to have
Riviera.
Is Riviera one? Yeah, Riviera is going to be one. Isn't Riviera a no-cut event now, though?
Oh, you're right, because it is an invitational.
Which sucks. If that's true, I didn't look that up, but I think that Riviera is now a no-cut event. I'm not here for no-cut events, by the way. I think
there's way too many people.
No-cut events are absolute fucking trash. Get rid of them.
I agree. I don't like them.
Phoenix, Heritage, Wells Fargo, and Travelers Championship this year are 4 that have been elevated. I think that rotates year over year. I really like those ones. I still think that they should have done Pat's idea and had like the International Open slammed part of it from the U.S. Open on. Like you would have to adjust where the Travelers is because it goes U.S. Open, Travelers. It goes Canadian Open, U.S. Open, Travelers Championship. All you need to do is swap Travelers Championship with the Canadian Open, and you can go U.S. Open, Canadian Open, Irish Open, Scottish Open, Open Championship. And I believe that what's the other one that's in there? The week of the Travelers, the French Open is going on. We can get rid of that. I think the German Open is the week after, too. But, like, you could have, like, the National Open Series or something and give an extra $20 million to the winner of that as sort of like an in-season tournament. And those are all great events, national championships, which are generally played at the best places. And you get to see a whole bunch of different unique style courses week after week after week for this small period of time. Like, just make sure that the one that they play in Scotland isn't exactly like the one that they use at the Open Championship, and you're good to go.
I adore that idea, but it's,
They're not doing it.
It's such American centric that wouldn't even resonate. They wouldn't even like hit in the meeting.
Maybe, but I do think there is some allure to seeing. I feel like that's where we get bogged down a lot in the PGA schedule. Like, it's not like ratings are through the roof for the PGA Tour when you go to these like hit and giggles. And I know that you need to have some of those at these resort courses on the tour to mix it up a little bit and help make sure that we get some minus 28 winners throughout the course of the year. But all those courses look the same to me.
Yeah, that's a big problem with the year. It all just a lot of monotony. No doubt about that.
Like the course that they play.
I agree. I love the idea. I wish they would do that. Also, because it would, and selfishly with the Canadian Open being a big part of it. But overall, it sounds like a great idea and another way for them to sort of like make this like fake cash grab that they're just trying to now sort of manufacture to compete with LIV. This sounds like something that could be a fun made for TV cash grabby thing.
And it would put
that also acknowledges the history and heritage of these great national championships you've outlined.
Yeah, 100%. And like, you wouldn't want to go to like have the Irish Open on big broadcast with real players playing in some of these awesome Irish courses. That'd be fucking awesome. And it would be good for like the crazies who like to follow around golf tournaments, or like the Americans that go to the Open Championship every single year. Make it a 3-week run. You go to Ireland, you go to Scotland, and then wherever the Open ends up. It's in Liverpool this year. You make a 3-week vacation out of it. I mean, golf people can do that. They're rich. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that. I'm glad. Is it weird how elevated Phoenix is now? Like, is Phoenix the 6th biggest tournament of the year?
Is Phoenix like too big for its bridges now? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
I'm not saying that it is, because I still think that there's more to go. DraftKings Sportsbook is opening up a retail on location betting like spot at TPC Scottsdale. I don't know if it's going to be...
they just started construction. It'll be ready next year.
Yeah, it's not going to be... We were going to do a live show from there, but it's not going to be ready for this year. So hopefully next year we can do the week. It would have been great for this year because the Super Bowl is actually in Phoenix as well. Yeah. Kill two birds with one stone with that one. But it's crazy to me how much it's grown, even over like the past 5 years, in terms of the national attention it gets. It was always a big tournament. You always had all of the fans that would go. It was a lot of fun, but it really feels like it's taken off over the past 3-4 years in terms of the general golf public really getting behind it. Because you have like your old fogies being like, I don't like people throwing beer cans onto the, and like that became a bit much at some point. But like they didn't like the raucous atmosphere. But I feel like casual viewers love it.
Yeah, it has certainly hit a stratosphere. Clearly, like when we started doing this show and guys would win it was a win. Like Phil would go there, he'd win a lot. Now it's a level of not only is it a party, winning that event feels like it's on a level of prestige that has almost kind of fallen just under like your Memorials and Rivieras on the regular season calendar. It's a premier win. It's become a premier event. They have packaged it in a way that has obviously lifted up what it means, and it still feels like something that if they tried to do other places, we would really laugh at and like mock.
You say that, and maybe it was just because we are Canadian and we were watching the Canadian Open. The atmosphere that they had around that par 3, I think it was number 16 at St. George's this year, like that was fucking fire.
Oh yeah, we do that. We got the rink.
And
an interesting selection for the rink hole this year. I know it well.
A hard par 3.
Yeah, it's a par 3. It's impossible for me to envision it with the rink setup. But no, other places, you're right. Other events do try to take a hole and turn it into an atmosphere. Even at the Honda, Pat, they sort of do that with that par 3 16th, or maybe it's just being there in a tent with Kenny Kim made it feel like I was in Phoenix.
Yeah, like
while a South Korean was winning, I'm beside Kenny Kim. I just thought I was in Phoenix, maybe.
It may be. It wasn't the same. We went to the 3M. Moose and I went to the hospitality setup at 18, that big par 5 where you come in over the water, the one where Matthew Wolff putted it for eagle from off the green to get his first PGA Tour win. It didn't have the same pizzazz to it. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, stadium golf. It's a thing. Other events do try to replicate it, and also for their own interest of, the corporate suite hospitality ideas that sort of comes about. And I would assume, Pat, there's not an event that's cost more to be able to get an on-ground activation from a sponsor than that event in Phoenix.
Well, it actually ties in really well. I went there for my bachelor party, and the waste management part, because they have so many people and there's so much trash everywhere, that they do a good job of having garbage cans everywhere. It actually works out perfectly for the title sponsor, I think.
Yeah, no, I just mean for anything to be, obviously the corporate suites at that hole cost, probably as Super Bowl suites. It's insane. What being part of that is, but I just mean any sort of on-ground activation by any corporate sponsor that week costs probably as much to be a part of any PGA event on the entire calendar, and good for them and good for Phoenix. I will be there I will be in Phoenix as people are watching this in Scottsdale. I'll drive by the build out every day because they're probably already building it out.
I like the selection of courses that they picked for these elevated events. Of course, I like Phoenix. I think it's not a unique course whatsoever, but because of the stadium, it's taken that mantle of, I know what course I'm looking at when I see it. And it's in the desert as well. So it gives it that bit of a different feel, and it's on right before the Super Bowl. Obviously, Heritage is one of the most unique events there is. Even just coming down 18 and seeing the lighthouse in the background. It can be an easy course. It can be a hard course. The Pete Dye course. We got another Pete Dye course too with the Travelers Championship. The Travelers has sneakily been one of the premier events that players love to go play in. It's in Connecticut. It's just outside of Hartford. It feels like an absolute scrub nothing tournament, but it hasn't. That's another one, and I'm glad it got this elevated status, that I feel has done really well over the last decade. And maybe a lot of this has to do with volunteers and local sponsors, but the players keep coming back there. They get good fields every year for no reason.
Yeah, no, there's a reason. And I feel like it's always talked about, but it's all kind of a blur to me. I think they do a tremendous job for the players, for their families, whatever they do to facilitate that event internally, players flock to. I don't know whether they got a dessert people or something, but I don't know. Players, you're right. Players absolutely flock to it. And every year that event comes and you just see stories or anecdotal notes of how much players enjoy whatever is going on in Hartford.
We are not doing a player-by-player breakdown because, Jeff, you will be joining me. Internet, let's see if you have it when you're down in Arizona, because next week we're recording we're doing the golf draft, where we're going to end up talking about every single player. There's going to be 14 of us, I think, this year. So you're going to get your breakdown on every single player going forward from all of your favorite fantasy golf analysts from around the biz. But I want to talk about the majors. Let's get to this. The Masters, obviously, it's the one up first. I read some people's articles, their early picks on who they're taking. Would shock you to know that Rory McIlroy is not only the betting favorite at 9-1, he is the guy everyone is picking, although he's been the guy everyone's been picking for the last 9 years and it hasn't happened yet.
I'm not surprised by that one bit. That nice little Sunday charge for second place last year. I actually had that bet. I bet on Rory last year. It's the Masters, Pat. I mean, you could just do this about 20 guys, maybe 12, and we would have the winner. And I don't feel like I'm overstepping staying that one bet.
Here's I'm looking at the odds at DraftKings Sportsbook right now, and we've begun to say this basically since the prevalence of sportsbooks. Now that we have legal sportsbooks all throughout North America, and it's just catching up with the rest of the world, that futures bets on golf are especially bad now.
They're done.
You can't make them. I'm looking at the board at the moment. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 players sub 30-1 at the moment.
It's
Like, what the fuck is that?
That's crazy, but it's also gotten. I mean, I had a fine year last year. True. It all sort of works out. Again, it all sort of feels like a blur, but part of me feels like I should have won more last year, Pat. Way more. Why? Because after KH Lee at the Byron Nelson, we didn't see a long shot. We didn't see a long shot. Billy Horschel winning Memorial at 60, I would consider one of the biggest long shots, maybe the biggest long shot in the entire second half of the season outside of, John Deere, which was only bad players. And I was mad I didn't hit Poston that week because everyone was on it. But good players win. Only good players win. That happened last year. Will that carry over this year? Even good players who haven't won anything that you want to make a breakthrough on will cost you 25-1. Like Matthew Fitzpatrick. There wasn't a number on him to win the U.S. Open. Props if you picked it, but you didn't get a number. So I don't know what to do. In terms of the Masters, have I decided which fantastic player is going to win yet? Honestly, no, I haven't. Am I probably only betting 2 or 3 fantastic players? Seriously, that feels like the move. But I haven't made the decision. So I don't know if I lose a 25, it becomes a 20. That'll happen. But I'm not ready to make a decision on which great player is going to win the Masters. But I know, I'm not going out on a limb to say it's going to be one of them.
And the issue with the futures market right now is that we know the week of the numbers are going to be better on all of these guys except for 2 of them. So I don't get what they're doing. They're encouraging you not to bet on this stuff, or they're encouraging you to bet at the worst possible number. Because as we've talked about for the past 3 years now, no one gets worse on these boards. If Zalatoris comes back and he looks like trash, he's 22-1 right now. What's the worst he's going to go to? 28-1? And then the week of, it's like, if he's been playing bad, all of a sudden he's 50-1. But as a part of the futures market, guys can move up. Like Max Homa's 65-1. If he wins Riviera again, he'll be 30-1. But no one will drop down to compensate for the odds.
As we always say, it's one-way traffic. If a great player is playing like total ass, there's still no break. There's no break. Just as an example, like how big would Brooks Koepka's numbers got last year? The guy was a sieve. They're still not putting out numbers. The numbers doesn't move. But if, say, Jason Day shows any sign of life, Pat, his number will crater. He'll crater. He wouldn't even have to win. And I'm just picking a guy I don't even know what the number is. But what I mean.
What would you guess? What would you guess right now Jason Day's odds are to win the Masters? I don't even know if he's qualified for the Masters, by the way.
I don't think he is. But I think people understand my
I get it. But he is listed with odds next to his name. What do you think his odds are?
100-1, 80-1,
65-1.
They've already cratered him. So yeah, they're pretty much saying you can't bet this. You can't bet this. The only bet, and this isn't like plug your ears if you think you're methodical or sharp or everything's about the plus EV. The only bet, I don't know what I'll make, but we'll get to an NFL playoff, and there'll be a game that I'm going to bet a fortune on. And I'm going to take 12% of my bet and say I'm going to parlay him with John Rahm. And if that bet wins, I'm going to be so happy because I just want a lot of money because I went big on it because it's a game I love. I'm not going to think about the 12%. And if that game loses, I'll be so mad about the actual stake on the game that I'm not going to think about that. That's the only way I'm getting involved in the Masters win before the board actually figures itself out. Although I will say, Pat, you line shop it good. There are some books. Listen, they went so invasive. On information they wanted from me. I won't even talk to them again. But there's some numbers like places.
There are,
like
but we're never going to find that Danny Willett 150, 125-1 again. That's never going to exist again because inherently he would just be 80-1 on the outset and work his way down from there. Like, you're not going to be able to catch any big numbers on players that you think might make a breakthrough because to use the Jason Day example, he's 65-1 now and he hasn't done anything. Imagine if he does something, he'll be 30-1.
Yeah. Is it? You're absolutely right. Like to think, because I think can we find that Willett? Can we find that U.S. Open Woodland? I don't know. I don't know if their starting point is high enough anymore. You're right. They sort of cut out their knees before the season starts to even be interested. I'm gonna say a crazy one. Ooh. It's kind of crazy. I guess if you made me make a DraftKings bet for the shucks, it's not draft. Oh, crap.
I would say the best odds on the board.
M at 45.
Why is Im at 45, or he's at 40 at DraftKings Sportsbook? Why is Im at 40 better than Hideki at 35?
Okay, you're right. Thank you for that's a good point. Would I embarrass myself to say female? Like Corey Connors?
Yes.
If there was a 6 in front of it.
Why is Corey Connors 60-1? Why isn't he 125-1? Like, seriously.
You're right. Okay, well, that goes back to we could go back to the very beginning. Nothing is fair. Even when they reset these suckers, to be fair, nothing is fair in the outright betting market. If you bet a favorite that's 8-1 and he wins, like, no one should be under 10-1 to win a 140-man golf tournament. The guys that are 80-1 should be 200. The guys that are 10 should be 25. Nothing feels fair. But guess what? I bet golf for fun. I bet it for fun because I enjoy watching it. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy betting. I bet golf for fun. So I'm okay if I'm making a minus EV bet on an outright golf tournament. That's literally every outright golf bet we make. But when you bet for fun and you bet within your limits, you can sometimes laugh at this stuff, right?
Yeah, no, I listen, I agree with you. I'm not here trying to grind out plus EV edges in order to, like, pay my mortgage on golf betting. I lost money on golf last year. Thank God Zalatoris won that Memphis tournament, or I would have been in a world of hurt. I mean, I would have been fine because I bet within my limits, but I was still down like $3,000 going into that. At least he won that, and it got me a huge chunk of it back. That was huge. I don't like going into the year being like, man, I bet on golf, I lost $3,000. That sucks. And I've gotten progressively worse. Like, the past 2 years have been really bad for me.
Well, I feel like the first round leaders haven't been. Like,
I had to stop playing them. I had to stop playing them. Because they weren't winning anymore. Like, everything that I used to do well golf betting just isn't working for me anymore. So I kind of have to go back to the drawing board a little bit this year and potentially change up what I'm doing because it's just not working. I might have to go back more to, hey, I actually think this guy is going to win, so I'm going to bet on him. And, maybe we live in this new reality, as you pointed out, that all of the winners from Byron Nelson on were essentially 20-1 and below. Guys I don't normally bet. You know what I mean?
Not 20, but good players. The good players. Like that pocket where you can make a nice 4-5.
But it wasn't even that. No, there was like the majority of winners were below 20-1.
Oh. Okay, yeah, you're right. There was a lot of chalk hitting, and you're not like you say you had a tough year. Guys that just, and we have friends that do this in our community, and they'll probably be guys that we're drafting with next week. Long shot bettors got just annihilated. Unless they were hitting first round leaders, because those can hit, they were getting crushed. They were never coming. They didn't come.
No. And the hard thing, I enjoy to bet long shots, don't get me wrong, but like hitting one every 2 years was usually enough on 200-1 or 250-1. I think Sky hit a 500-1 on like the Euro Tour, South African Tour or something like that. That's amazing stuff. Sky did the best of like identifying these undervalued long shots across the world. He'll be on the show next week pointing that out, but just, yeah, it's that 35 to 80 range that normally I do really well with that wiped me out this year. Like, I hit Luke List at 90-1. That was it, really, from that range. One of my favorite events of all time, by the way. That was an amazing Sunday because I had Zalatoris and Luke List, but then stupid Jason Day was in the mix too, and he holed out for eagle from the middle of the fairway at some point. How do you think the LIV guys are going to do in all the majors, but particularly the first major? Because like I mentioned, they only have 2 rounds or 2 events before the Masters.
Dustin will do fine. Cam will do fine.
So they'll do fine.
I don't know though. That's a tough ask.
Do you think that
you can't make that up? Like, even Tiger like his biggest issue is going to be competitive reps. Like, you cannot replicate that sort of, even in practice. You cannot replicate what it's like to play tournament golf at that level, even on the 4-footers, 5-footers.
It doesn't even seem to be factored into their odds, though. Like Cam Smith's 12-1, DJ 16-1. Let's see, Brooks is 25-1, Bryson's 28-1. Yeah, like it's not like you're getting a break on the LIV guys.
Maybe you're getting a break with Louis. I don't know.
I mean, I think Louis is always 50-1 at the Masters.
No, man, there have been Masters gotten like to the 28th to 26s, when Tim would tout him in recent years, Pat. The other problem about this, and maybe this will become more of a focus when we discuss US Open or PGA Championship, is let's say you think you're so suave and you know who this year's Cam Young is going to be. He's not even listed. Like, there's no inroads into doing this properly right now. I mean, maybe someone will tell me they got something, but do you know what I mean? Like that, like a lot of the players, like you might have a true belief in, and even if they start playing a little quality golf, they're still not listed on the board.
For example, I think the perfect example of this is if you think that Taylor Montgomery is going to be really good this year. He's already been good during the swing season. He's probably going to be in the Masters based on just his performance in the swing season. I know he hasn't won yet, but he should have enough FedEx Cup points, money, and world golf rankings to get up there. Once they put him on the mat, not that you probably want to bet a first-time guy. He's just an example. But once they put him into the pool of players, he's going to be like 50-1. Like, you never got a chance to bet him at 175.
That's just another layer to how they have sort of cut out the knees of this market. And that's not to say go bet a future. You love a guy, you think a guy, you got a feeling, you know something about LA Country Club or where else we're going that's perfect for somebody, tell me, leave it in the comments. I'm not afraid to waste money on some stranger's suggestion.
Yeah, listen, if it wasn't for some stranger, we wouldn't have that Willett bet right away. We would have waited like 5 days and the odds would have been worse.
True.
Sometimes it pays to listen to strangers on the internet. Other times it doesn't.
You can bet Tom Kim at 30-1 to win the Masters.
35 to 1 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Value.
That's actually one that I know some people like they got some 100-1s on the PGA Championship. I don't have. That would, in my opinion, be the most prevalent golf future. Like, a guy like Baroff is just sitting on Tom Kim 100-1s PGA Championship.
Well, when we talk about the PGA Championship as well, I think that is the one for Tom Kim as well. If he's going to win one of these four, just based on the setup and what happened in 2012. 2011 at that course. I know it's been changed since then, but it was like short hitting accuracy players with good irons who did really well that year. Duffner won, beating Furyk. So Tom Kim can most definitely win an event like that. If it's guys who play well at Heritage and Colonial, yeah, Tom Kim should excel under those circumstances. I do want to, before we get to the rest of the majors, I want to talk about the injured guys. There's three of them that I wanted to bring up. Zalatoris has been injured for ages, and we haven't seen Daniel Berger in like 6 months. I totally forgot he was hurt because I forgot he existed.
Yes, he withdrew a lot and kind of just disappeared. Zalatoris, you've seen through the interwebs and the Instagrams and the announcements, he's playing Tournament of Champions, so he'll be ready he plans to be healthy for the big events. I don't know anything about Berger. I'm not really on the Instagrams. I don't even know if he's been posting straight vibe and boat pics. But if he's healthy and there's inflated numbers, that's a guy it's easy for me to bet because I'm a sucker for that. And is Tiger Woods an injured guy?
Well, we're going to separately talk about Tiger. I don't want to lump him in with Zalatoris and Berger. At least those are like up and coming guys. I guess the question is, who is this year's Scheffler, the breakthrough guy? Is it just Zalatoris? Is that the easy answer to all of this? He should have won fucking 7 times last year.
Yeah, of course. Zalatoris, Matthew Fitzpatrick. Like, what do we?
I mean, Fitzpatrick.
Although Scheffler didn't even have a win last year, Fitzpatrick has a major, so that's not fair.
That seems unfair.
Sungjae?
Maybe it's just Tom Kim. Maybe Tom Kim has jumped the line.
Tom Kim, like Max.
You know what? It could.
Cam Young.
I mean, Homa has.
Cam Young fits the profile of not winning and being really good in so many hard events.
That's true. Like Cam Young gets his one win, then the floodgates open. And if we talk about Homa's won 4 times. Like I know he doesn't have the major breakthrough. Maybe he's like more in the major breakthrough category. But like I said, Scheffler didn't have.
Homa's a bad suggestion.
He didn't have a win, let alone many wins, which would necessitate an entire rack. I don't know what he's going to do with a win rack until he starts getting some wins, but it's a tough scene for him. Siwoo is 125-1 for the PGA Championship.
So I don't know. How do we define what are we defining the Scheffler? Winning your first major or winning 5 tournament? Like, what are you defining it as? Because you could argue it in many ways.
Well, I think, listen, it's always going to be a loose suggestion, whatever it is. But he went from being a player that everyone liked and everyone bet all the time to getting his first win, to getting 4 wins, to getting a major like right away. I don't think you necessarily need to win the major, but to win like 2 or 3 times this year. Like Zalatoris is the obvious guy.
Yeah. Zalatoris and Cam Young fit the line of succession the best. And some would even say Zalatoris winning at St. Jude could be a disqualifier, but in betting Zalatoris to win the Masters today would be a lot lower than what you could have gotten Scotty at like Christmas time last year.
Sure, but a lot of that is baked into Zalatoris has played in the Masters twice, and he's finished top 5 twice too. And he almost won. Like there's outside of the Open Championship, like there was a real chance that he won all 3 of the first majors.
And Torrey Pines.
And Torrey Pines, yeah, he didn't.
Yeah,
I would actually throw Taylor Montgomery as the low end candidate into that mix. I think he's really good. Like he's a bomber who can putt. Like that goes well. Look at Cameron Champ has 3 career wins, and Taylor Montgomery's way better than Cameron Champ.
This probably might be way too good of a player who may have already won too much, but does Hovland count, or just way too popular and good already?
I mean, dude has like 14 career wins or something internationally, doesn't he?
Yeah, I just like a guy that just wins 5 of 7 straight events with a major on the PGA. I don't know, Robert McIntyre, if we're asking for a Euro.
Bobby Mack, maybe Davis Riley.
Ooh, I like that. Davis Riley if a year ago, Davis Riley was my pick, as it probably was a lot of people's picks, to be like the Corn Ferry guy to do what Cam Young did. Not that I actually expected any of them to do it, but if I had to pick one last year, would have been Riley. I'm still very bullish on guys like Riley, Taylor Moore. You even mentioned Montgomery a few times already. I'm bullish on a bunch of them. Mito.
Didn't Mito go to LIV?
Did he go to LIV, or did he just have dinner with LIV Players?
I thought he went to LIV.
No,
Let's see. No, it says PGA Tour. I swore he went to LIV, but no, I guess not.
I don't know. I guess if Neiman wasn't on the PGA, I'd say him, but he's won a couple times too.
Yeah, but I think Neiman would fit that. Neiman's won, twice in his career? So, you can kind of point to different ways that some of these guys mirror each other. Like, I think that Neiman's career was mimicking what we saw from Tony Finau a lot, where he just had these great finishes but very few wins that came along with it. Victor Hovland's career so far looks a lot like Justin Thomas's early career. Remember when Justin Thomas was the guy that couldn't win in continental USA? He was that guy.
Yeah,
he'd win in Mexico and Kuala Lumpur and in South Korea, but once you got to the United States proper, he won in Hawaii. He just never was going to win. And then it just happened. Then he won 2 majors.
I agree with that. I would probably fight back on the Finau comp, only in that Finau was such a late bloomer that it was like
They don't need to be the same fucking age. It's just the same trajectory that they went through. Guys started earlier.
I guess. I mean, I don't want to do this, but no one has Finau's trajectory and path. Nobody. The guy was a big breaker.
So two gloves.
28 before you saw him on TV.
So Tommy.
Now we meet these
Tommy
guys.
2 gloves.
We meet Neiman at 19.
Okay, throw him out then.
No, I didn't mean to get passionate about it. I just the Finau trajectory is it's a 1 of 1. It kind of feels like.
I'm just more talking since these guys arrived on the PGA Tour, what their careers look like, and that can mirror each other.
Yeah, I think Neiman in some ways I would like put up against Hideki. And like we met him so young, there's no school that like he probably feels so much older than he is, like some of the South Koreans, because we met them as a baby. Unlike some of these guys that actually go to school in the States.
Maybe. I mean, now that he's on LIV, it's going to be tough to do any of that. But at least Hideki was piling up his like waste managements, and like he had won the Memorial, things like that, and been competitive. And all. I guess Riviera is a pretty decent comp for something like Memorial at the same time. So yeah, and he had his Greenbrier win. Hit that one. That was nice. I think you hit both of Neiman's wins on the PGA.
Oh, that Riviera win was great. I hit Riviera and Hoagie at Pebble, and then I went ice cold till JT at the PGA. But then we came through in the summer.
I feel like that was the start of my run of like, I think I had 11 second place finishers last year. Morikawa at Riviera was one of them. That's a guy who could like rebound in a big way this year. I'm really praying for it. He's my favorite player. So I hope that he does well, but he came so close so many times last year and just couldn't break through, which is so odd. I guess it really does show you the luck that it takes to win on the PGA Tour and win these big events, because everything that could have fallen his way did for like an 18-month stretch.
Yep, absolutely. And then a full calendar year without the win. So if we leave winter months and he still hasn't won, I don't know, there might be some noise. There might be some noise there. Yeah, as the season was ending, people were really, I wasn't one of them, not that I hit up the bets I made, but people were just like betting it, ready for it to flip. Like, it's got to flip. It's got to flip.
I was that guy. I mean, I probably didn't lose more money on any player in 2022 than Colin Morikawa. Now, I didn't win more money on any player ever probably than Colin Morikawa the year previously, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, you get so used to a guy winning and closing when he's close, you forget that like, oh yeah, this can go the other way too. Just like Scotty Scheffler can't win, the guy sucks. Oh yeah, he can't lose a tournament. He hasn't won a tournament since.
Yeah.
Like when he got beat by Sam Burns at Colonial, it was like, what is happening here?
Oh yeah, that was a weird weather Sunday too.
Yeah, Burns got out early and posted, and everyone ended up falling back. There was someone who was running away with that, too, I feel like. Maybe it was Scott Stallings, because Scott Stallings had that hot run for 6 weeks.
That was a little later than that.
No, I think that was the beginning of the Scott Stallings run. Yeah. I really do. Let's see here. Stallings. Where are you at? Oh, there's a Steven Stallings Jr. as well, according to Fantasy National. FantasyNational.com/Mayo, by the way. There's a complete reboot coming. Yeah, Charles Schwab. Scott Stallings came in 4th. He went 4th, miscut, 8th, 4th, 10th, 13th, miscut, 2nd. It's a good run for Scott Stallings. Probably got back on the gear. Tiger Woods. When is the first time we're going to see him play?
Riviera?
You think so? Like, you think he actually is going to play Riviera?
Yeah, I don't know. He's going to play. He's going to play before the Masters. I have no doubt about that. He looks good for what you would think.
The guy couldn't walk to play in the Hero, so he didn't play. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Plantar fasciitis. I can't stand. I don't want to do that because there was such a line that killed me. Oh, on one of your, like, when you're doing your, and I say dumb things all the time, but Cam has a prevalence for like referencing when he played and his team got its ass kicked and how they would battle back as a locker room.
So you listened to yesterday's show?
Yeah, I've listened to it already. I thought it was a great show. That was a good show. It was a quick listen. I love the show. I love you guys. You do a great show. And I don't know how you could like any comparison to like you like junior midget, just below OHL level come back to NFL. But I've had plantar fasciitis and it's the worst. So I hope Tiger's rolling iced water, like frozen water bottles or golf balls, or he's probably got some fancy machine that's wrapped on it. I don't know. He had plantar fasciitis. You can't walk with that. You can't. You can't. Let alone if you have a bad knee. You could really screw up your knee if you attempt to do extended walk. Like if you have a bad knee and attempt to do extended walking with plantar fasciitis, you could do a lot more damage. So yes, he's broken, but he'll play before the Masters. I hope. I think.
That's the thing. We all hope that happens. And listen, it's just one thing after another compounding with Tiger. It's the back, it's the knee, it's the hip, it's now his foot. I'm shocked he didn't just go get some of that shockwave treatment and get the sound waves in there and break up the plantar fasciitis. Because that's what a lot of people are doing. Like, I don't think we need to revert back to put your foot on a golf ball and try to work it out. That's what my dad had to do when he had it. But I get that's why, and listen, it's probably not a time to really push yourself and potentially hurt yourself even more at the Hero World Challenge. Not that big of a deal. I do find it strange, though, that like he's the host for Riviera, although it's the course where he's been like the worst at in his career.
Yeah, so maybe he has no intention of playing. It's just, I guess, corporate wise, it's a perfect, like, it's LA, it's Tiger, it's like a perfect synergy for him. But you're right, it's not like you would think it would be Torrey Pines maybe that he took over or his foundation attached itself to.
Well, let's try to plan out Tiger's schedule here, because before he went away, I don't know, the third time, whenever it was. When did he make that run at Wyndham when Davis Love won that year? What year was that? Like 2016, 2017? You remember that?
He wasn't at Wyndham that year. He was in bed with. Well,
he played the Wyndham one year and came like fifth or something like that. I forget what year that was. Anyway, those are the types of courses he should be playing. If maybe he doesn't think. I think he thinks he can still compete and be the best. But like playing Torrey Pines and Riviera, these long, daunting courses, he's never going to have a chance at them again. That's not going to happen. So why not play the Sony Open? Maybe that's too small time of a tournament. But like the Honda Classic would have been perfect. Can that just be the Tiger Woods Classic?
Honda Classic, Heritage,
Wyndham,
you mentioned
Colonial,
Wyndham,
Sawgrass.
I know he would never do it, but if he wanted to take privacy to any of those, like the Aaron Baddeley tour, who's the guy that wins all the Bahamas events?
Oh yeah, the like Corrales, the alt events. Yeah, he's never going to.
Like if he was desperate to get to that number to break Sam Snead, he would play in some of those. But I think you're right. I think he wants to play where in the sort of premium series, bigger events. And I'll say this, the Champions Tour's got a decade to figure out how to incorporate a father-son major into their schedule.
I think there are three options for him. And maybe we see him at all three. Maybe we see him at none of them. I don't know. I do think that the Genesis at Riviera is probably the first time that you would see him. Bay Hill would probably be number 2, and the Players would be number 3. But because the Bay Hill and the Players are so close to each other on the schedule, that he's probably not going to do that. I like to see him back at Valspar. He played well at Valspar that one year.
The year Paul Casey.
It's the year that we had Patrick Reed, and Patrick Reed lost to Casey when he made the putt up the hill, then it came back down the hill on the 72nd hole.
And Corey Connors was, I think, maybe leading that Sunday for a little bit.
Yeah, him and Snedeker were making a run that year.
Valspar would be perfect. Florida, if he wanted to do the Florida swing that, we say like the European tour through Florida, those courses would be perfect for him, most of them.
Let's talk PGA Championship. It is at Oak Hill this year. As I mentioned a little bit earlier on, just to kind of go and look back through time, Jason Duffner won in 2013 at -10, beat Jim Furyk by 2 strokes. I think that although the course has changed, that those two players in general are very telling about how this might work out. That's why I mentioned someone like Tom Kim. Sung Jae is another one. This does seem like the type of course, and maybe this won't play itself out this year. Maybe that's an outlier when it comes down to it. But like David Hearn was tied for 3rd. He shot off the lead after the first round that year. Like short hitting accuracy players. Duffner used to be able to putt back then, but he hit every fairway. We knew his irons were on fuego, and he made a few putts. Those are the players that I think, have a better chance at competing at this major than probably any of the other 4 this year.
Well, Jordan Spieth Grand Slam sounds like it could be in play.
Spieth's not accurate. Yeah, listen to this. Here were the top 4 players by the end of it. Duffner, Furyk, Stenson, Jonas Blixt.
Oh, wow. So what are we looking at? The Matthew Fitzpatrick versus...
Brendan Todd.
versus Brendan Todd, but like Xander Schauffele could be representing America coming in here.
I mean, it could be a really nice ROM tournament.
I like the IM suggestion. There's an IM 50-1. That like blindly is an instinct that I don't mind here. I'm not running to bet it. Victor Hovland.
You're gonna say Hovland for every single major, so you might as well just bet him now.
Hovland and Zalatoris over 30-1, flirting with 30-1 will have my attention at every major.
I mean, there is based on the description I just gave you, there's a very high-end version of this player. He's 16-1, but like this is a Morikawa event, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
accuracy in irons where length doesn't matter.
You're 100% right, Pat. And you should go. Does DraftKings not have a 20 on him there?
DraftKings does, but obviously I cannot use DraftKings Sportsbook in the province that I am in at the moment.
Yeah, I know that. You're right. Like blind eye, first description, it does sound like a Morikawa versus Fitzpatrick if we're talking about the high-end players.
But I do think this one actually does lend itself to someone down the board because of the skill set. Like Scott Piercy was 5th that year. David Toms was tied for 5th. Like a very simple formula to the guys who did well. Maybe the course has been lengthened and changed, and that's not going to be prevalent a decade later. But I do think it's pretty telling that that's the type of player that just populated this leaderboard.
So yeah, you're like your Adam Scotts, your Abe Answers.
Yeah, answer Corey Connors. I don't know if Connors can putt enough, but he kind of fits that mold as well.
Corey Connors. This would be a place. 5 years ago, I'd have money on Sergio.
Yes, absolutely. You probably still have bet Jim Furyk at that point too.
Let's see, Woo Kim 160.
That once I thought you said 60. I was like 160 doesn't sound very good, but yes, 160.
If it's not coastal, but now I'm so far down the board. I'm looking at Tom Hoagie 190.
I thought you were going to say Aaron Wise. There's a guy that we didn't mention in the breakout players. I think that people feel like he has broken through because they bet him every tournament.
Yeah, Aaron Wise. Yeah, there's a fan club of his that's rocking. Some of our closest pals in the space are deep into it.
Listen, you get latched onto your favorites. I understand how it is. Who are some guys? Who are some high end guys? Russell Henley, Connors, Answer, Todd Morikawa.
Neiman.
And I don't think Neiman's as accurate as you think he is. Berger. If Berger's back, irons and fairways, that's all he does. Basically, can you play well at Colonial? Sounds like you will play well here.
Tiger.
That's a name. You want to bet on Tiger at 40-1 to win a major?
No, but I know Odds Checker's a friend of yours, and I just popped open their grid, and there is an 80. I'm not betting that either. Just putting it out there.
Xander is a good look for this one too, because Xander of like the longer players is the most accurate. Him and Rahm.
Yeah. Is it? So it's not hard. Is it? Well, I'm sure it'll be plenty hard. Shane Lowry. I don't know.
Are you just
Xander?
Are you just reading the names?
Are
you just reading the names on the odd sheet in descending order?
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to think of guys that don't need to, that are really good players that can sometimes be penalized in some of these bigger events by their lack of great distance.
Berger 50-1. I don't like those odds. Connor 65-1. I don't like those odds. That's the problem. Like, you're going to have to wait for these ones to come back to earth. You know what's interesting here? Actually, just to describe that type of player, Billy Horschel is 100-1.
Yeah.
That's a good look.
That's a good look, because I was going to say, like, Billy's 100-1, Tommy Fleetwood 66. I love Fleetwood. They should probably be the same number, and neither of them are probably right.
So Billy 100-1. I think I'm going to make that an official play for the PGA Championship. He's won enough big tournaments that he could win. Like,
where is it?
It's
like state again. What state? Like, where are we in the country?
New York, just outside of Rochester.
Ooh la la.
So Phil.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Los Angeles Country Club. is host of the U.S. Open this year. Same odds for everyone across the board, basically, but this is a pretty new venue to what we're kind of doing here. I'm just trying to look at it. It hosted the Los Angeles Open. It last in 1940, so that's nice. Clayton Hefner, if you're playing some course history here, was the last winner. He won it +2 by his stroke. Actually, no, he lost. Clayton Hefner was second to Lawson Little. But it is hosting the U.S. Open. The Walker Cup was here in 2017, if that's what we're going to look at. The captain of the U.S. for the Walker Cup team that year, Jeff, do you know what his name was?
Patrick Cantley? I don't know.
No, it's some old dude. Spider Miller. What a name. Oh. But here were the guys on that team for the U.S. Cam Champ, the Gim Reaper, Doug Gim, Mav McNeely, Colin Morikawa, Doc Redmond, Scotty Scheffler, Braden Thornberry, the Panda, Big Norm, and Will Zalatoris, along with Stuart Hasglad. That amateur who always plays like 50 years old now.
Hagestad.
Yeah.
Hagestad.
Anyway, that was the team. It's a good team. So those
good
are the
team.
guys who are going to have the experience at this course.
On first look, does it fit the profile that U.S. Opens have kind of been beholden to since we kind of started doing our podcast?
I don't know.
If so,
I don't really know anything about this course.
Because blindly, I just bet U.S. Opens, it's the same guys. Like, really long, really straight. Brooks, your DJs. You're right. I was kind of presumptuous on Neiman for the U.S. Who am I? Tim, U.S. PGA for the PGA, but I've watched Neiman go out in those feature groups and hit it past DJ. So I love him at a place that would demand long and straight. Tony Finau, I'd love at a place that's long and straight. Victor Hovland. Like, I can make a U.S. Open betting card right now, assuming it's the profile of every every USGA selection since we started doing this thing.
It doesn't have what the actual specs are for this course right now, but it says it's 7,200 yards, par 70. That doesn't sound as long if that's the actual distance for it. It sounds pretty short, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it the type of course where Kevin Kisner is like, if I come in 20th place, that's first place?
I don't know. It seems like it might be an equitable U.S. Open based on that distance.
That brings a lot more guys into play. That'll be a warm one. Summertime in L.A.
But isn't that what we got at the U.S. Open this year? Like, we had a huge mix of types of players near the top of the leaderboard. Like, it came down to Scheffler, Zalatoris. I mean, Zalatoris plays well at every major. Anytime you get a hard course, Zalatoris plays well. And then you had Matthew Fitzpatrick winning. Denny McCarthy was inside the top 10 for a while. I think he may have finished there. So it's kind of an eclectic.
Morikawa was right up there. He's not a big hitter. I feel like Morikawa felt like a live body for a bit on that Sunday.
Yeah, because Tim backed him to win on Saturday, and then he shot like 78 on Saturday, and then he rallied back. I did think he finished inside the top 10, but that one was kind of all over the place in terms of the skill set. It wasn't the bomb and gouge type U.S. Open that we had seen previously.
Isn't Connors in the top 10 there?
You have a computer. You can look this up, you know.
Yeah, I do. I know the problem with all these, which really good player do you want to plant your flag on at Christmas?
I'm not asking you for a pick. I'm just asking you to talk about the tournament with me, Paul.
Yeah, no, I know, but I think everything.
Corey Connors at every tournament so far. By the way,
I will lose a lot of money on him this year. I'll lose a lot of money on him this year.
I like that you brought him up for every major so far. When we talked about breakthrough players, he wasn't on your list.
No, Pendrith.
Of course.
That was a joke. But Pendrith actually might be a decent sneaky play. Oh, sorry. I might bring up Pendrith way too much. I should get a shock every time I'm going to do Pendrith this year. Because I like to think of what we would probably think of Pendrith if he wasn't hurt for so much of last year.
I mean, that can go one of two ways. More exposure that you get to him, you're like, oh, fuck this guy. I don't want to bet on this guy. He's kind of a loser because he just blows up at the end of every tournament. But when you see him in a limited sample and he has like a nice 3-week run, he's on the President's Cup team, you're like, holy shit, this guy's really good. And we might look back and be like, what were we thinking with this?
And he's Canadian, so he gets shoved down our throats extra.
Oh yeah, when we
and I'll shove him down your throats.
Open Championship. Was this the last time Rory won a major at Royal Liverpool? Or did he win the US Open after that?
It was the PGA on the dark. Wasn't that the last one?
Yeah,
with Phil complaining and Ricky Valhalla. What a great tournament.
Because PGA was after the Open Championship then. Yeah, because he won both of them in 2014. Was the year that he won. Tiger won in 2016. This is the Open Championship where Tiger hit driver once a week and just hit 4-iron stingers off the tee and just dummied everyone. Finished minus 18 that week. Rory finished minus 17. This is known as one of the harder courses in the Open Championship Rota at Royal Liverpool, but we've actually had some exciting tournaments here. I'm actually very excited for this Open Championship.
Love it. Love the Open Championship. Love hearing it's at one of the harder ones in the spot.
And you'll love the top 3 from Royal Liverpool in 2014. It's a real who's who of Geoff Fienberg faves. Rory, Ricky, and Sergio. 1, 2, 3.
Wow, that's some good Rory, Ricky, Sergio. 2014.
Adam Scott.
It's not have been Ricky's. Ricky was top 5 ever. Yeah, that was the year Ricky was top 5 across the board at all the majors.
To look to the top 10, Furyk and Fowler were the only 2 Americans inside the top 10 that year.
Okay. Well,
we had a lot
first
of
guy go.
Well, we had Furyk, Eduardo Molinari, Schwartzel, Dubuisson, Shane Lowry, Graham McDowell. So, like, you didn't have to be overly long. A lot of, like, real Linksy style players in there, though.
Yeah, so my eye quickly would try to find, Hatton, Lowry, sort of where they might be at this point of the year on an odds board.
Grace?
For that event. Who?
Brendan Grace.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, if you're looking for someone deep, I assume he's like, Ryan Fox is 100-1. He's a very good links player, but 100-1 doesn't really seem fair. They're not listing Grace. He's probably not in the tournament. That's why. Who down this list is a really good links player? I mean, I don't want to bet Patty Harrington. Jordan Smith is like, he's 150-1. That seems to. Willett's 150-1. Willett's a good links player.
Yeah. 150-1 doesn't seem great.
No, but there's no one over. I mean, once we get down to the 250-1 range, we're looking at like Lee Westwood and Stuart Sink and Arnaus. Like that's the highest it goes. Like Kitayama's 200-1. Minwoo, you know what? Minwoo's 180. Minwoo's a great links player.
That's actually not a horrible bet.
Thank you.
Like you're right. It feels so crazy to say, but sorry. I don't know if that's not a horrible bet. That's a really good, like, deep suggestion. That's how I'll leave that.
Yeah, like as you've pointed out, I don't want to make a decision on which great player I want to back right now this far out. But I mean, I would even give Morikawa a look. He's 25-1 at this tournament for the Open. I mean, he has an Open Championship. Obviously, he can play this style of golf. But I obviously just want to bet Morikawa over and over. But where's Minwoo? Yeah. Minwoo, 180-1. I think that's probably the best look from down deep. Him and Moronk. Moronk is down there as well at like 200-1.
Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the year Tiger broke his leg or he had the accident?
Yeah. And we had
on that Christmas show, we bet him to win the Open Championship.
Yeah, I remember.
But I think we cashed out before he got in his car accident because we're like, we'll get these reports are bad. We don't want this. Or I don't even remember, but yeah, that's all. And if you're just saying it's a really hard course.
Well, it's known as the harder, like one of the harder courses, but I just showed you 2 examples where the last 2 winners were minus 18 and minus 17. It's no different than the old course where, yeah, you can win at minus 20. Some years you can win at plus 1.
I guess it's obvious. I sort of make this a Tiger thing, but it's like easy to say he's way more likely to win the Masters than this. But I don't think it would be. I would put this really close, potentially even above the Masters.
I think
that might sound crazy.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that Tiger, if he's ever going to win another major, it's going to be an Open or it's going to be the Masters. It's not maybe this PGA Championship with the way that it's set up. But if I'm him, I'm not even playing the fucking U.S. Open anymore. Like that just leads to injury.
Yeah, unless they give him a cart, you're not wrong. Like he should not play. He should just retire from U.S. Open golf. Maybe. And I don't know. There's a product of the majors are so tightly compacted. He had to bail on a couple of them, right, last year because the body just wasn't holding up.
Yeah, like he withdrew after round 3 of Southern Hills. Southern Hills wasn't bad because just anywhere where it's going to be so punitive to hit it into the rough and you need power to get it out. Like that's what's going to cause him to break his fucking back. Like the U.S. Open is just going to have that U.S. Open rough, and he's not going to be able to hit out of it.
Damn, you get like 160 to 1 on other majors for Bobby Mack, but I'm seeing 80s here.
80s, I mean, 80s pretty bad based on his play, but
he's pretty bad.
Again, a very good. I would be looking at looking at that list. I would be looking at some sort of like links specialist to win.
Maybe I should know this. He's won an Open Championship, but would you consider Louis Oosthuizen a really good links golfer?
How has he done it like the Alfred Dunhill over the years? The British one, not the South African one. I feel like he's done pretty well there. I feel like I feel like South Africans by and large are pretty good links players.
So I'm seeing like Louis in the 65 to 80 range. I mean, that would be something that maybe has my attention, but I'm making no bets as we talk through this show. I haven't convinced myself of anything. You mentioned the Billy Horschel previously. That could be something.
Yeah, don't sleep on Louis just being cooked as well.
Just took the farm life, just total
got the money. He's happy to go. So here are the past champions and like good players at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, which takes place in, I think it's October in Britain. The 3-course rota between, Carnoustie, the old course, and some other jabroni course that no one cares about. Kingsbarn Golf Links is the other one. Ryan Fox won this year. Noren was second. Willett won the year before that. Hatton was second. Vic Perez beat Southgate. Biergarten. Lucas Beauregard. Remember that guy? He beat Fleetwood and Hatton. Hatton beat Ross Fisher. Hatton beat Ross Fisher. Thorbjorn Olesen beat Brooks. Oliver Wilson beat Tommy, Rory, and Richie Ramsey. Brennan Grace has a win there. Martin Keimer has a win. Patty Harrington has a win. Like all guys that you would associate with good links golf. Like really, guys who have played like crap throughout the course of a season, and when we get to the Open Championship, it's like, oh, there's that guy who's T9.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it won't matter what Hatton has done up until that event. He will be shorted big time there because myself and a lot of people consider him pound for pound, arguably the best links golf player on the planet.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Rory is probably the best links player on the planet. But
okay,
or Rahm. Like
right.
Rahm has an immaculate links record.
Yes, and also let's also recall Alfred Dunhill is a pro-am.
Yeah, but it's actually a competitive pro-am, unlike Pebble Beach.
Okay, it's worth noting. But I just mean some like pin location, like things that pro-ams are not what they normally are, and to take a pro-am and say now go compare it to use as an argument for a major, some people could say that's insane, but it does. It's hard to quantify who might be the best links players on the world, and that's one of the fairest barometers out there is that tournament.
Yeah, I think you'd be better off looking at the Alfred Dunhill Links tournament, playing on these links courses, than taking something like the BMW PGA at Wentworth, which is like a tree-lined tight course.
Yeah, like they could be in Florida or just one of those classic North American classic tree-lined golf course.
Yeah, it's just a different style of game. It doesn't mean the same players can't do well at both. Hatton's done well at both. Rory has done well at both. Good players play well at You don't need to be a great links player to win at a links course. You just need to be a great player. But you do. It's almost like where the accuracy guys get a bit of a boost at the PGA Championship this year. Like predominant links style players are going to get a boost at this year's Open Championship, where they didn't at last year's Open Championship because St. Andrews isn't that type of course.
Yeah. So I guess as we're pretty much wrap this up, do you think we'll get a major winner over 60-1 this year in any of the tournaments?
Yes, I think it'll happen at the PGA or it's going to happen at the Open.
Okay, that's awesome.
I think that these two courses are geared for that kind of thing. I think the PGA is probably the most likely.
And last year at the PGA, Mito was the 100-1 on the last tee.
Until
it was almost right there.
Until he got on that last tee and someone said, "It's over." Poor Mito. Poor Mito. All right, that was fun. I really like talking about golf. I forgot how much I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I was going to literally just say that I'm as excited as I've been for the new golf season in a while, and all it took was just talking about golf.
And you know, to kind of cap it off, once we stopped talking about LIV, I started having a lot more fun.
I agree. But we'll see if that's possible. Again, as I've said to you on the other shows, it's like a new approach. It exists. I don't like change. I don't like any change. I don't like when websites change. I don't like anything. But I've accepted the change, and we're at that point, and it exists. And when it's on versus shitty events, sometimes I catch myself watching it. And I don't know. I love the discourse about it, even though I guess it bothers me. And that was fun to talk about without it. Oh my God, let's go. I don't want to do this.
All right. FantasyGolfChampionships.com to get into the giant one and done. It's already over 20% full, and it starts at the Sony Open. So if you want a spot, you best get in right now, okay? FantasyNational.com for all of your stats research, lineup builders, any website you want for gambling or daily fantasy. Easy stuff. FantasyNational.com/Mayo will get you 20% off. You can find everything down in the description. We'll be back next Monday with the golf draft, and then, hey, Tournament of Champions on deck right after that, okay? I'm Pat Mayo. He was Geoff Fienberg. Thank you for watching. Smash the like, and I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!